all these things that have so much significance, and then
Yeah.
Blah,
Okay.
what they do.
Yeah.
We're just
Yeah,
gonna
I
rescue them.
Yeah, I kind of slowed down I actually slowed it down for the last 5 minutes just to make sure that, like, because, it was the last 5 minutes, I wanted to watch it at least slow. And, yeah, didn't make any
Yeah.
sense. All right.
no, we
There's
did
a
get the
lot.
cool bang, bang,
We did
bang.
get that.
What am I, Sundance Kid?
That was pretty funny.
It was a nice sequence. I liked it.
It was funny, except for whenever you think about it and realize that that last missile, he totally didn't have to wait that long. It's not like he's actually shooting them down.
Yeah.
So that means that he almost killed himself, and more importantly, he almost killed his girlfriend
Yeah.
because he
poor old
wanted to
Saki.
look cool.
Yeah. Poor old. I'm just standing here looking at Takizawa Saki.
Yeah, that was basically like her entire existence, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, I was a little confused about that too. But
It was just it's just so odd to me that like the timeline of their relationship is Takizawa shows up naked in front of the White House, gets her away from the police. She gets her passport back from him. She magically falls in love with him after it's a span of about an hour.
Now, I will
And
say
then-
that they never state that she falls in love with him, but she just kind of has like the hots for him.
When I say falls in love, I mean like falls in love, and by that I mean she just gets the female protag towards male protag gravitational field that goes on.
Oh,
Like
gosh.
she gets picked up into his orbit, his
harem
protag
orbit, even though it's not really a harem orbit in this case.
That's the
It's
thing.
just
Like
his
I would
orbit.
say it's a harem. Yeah, it's his orbit of influence.
In other animes, it is a harem orbit. So.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
weird how quickly in the first episode, whenever she's like, I think he might be a terrorist. That's a bit weird. And he's like, hey, why don't you just come with me for the rest of this episode? And she's like, all right, I'll do that. That seems like a good
Like why
idea.
not?
That's what I've always wanted to do. See a terrorist, and I'm just like, I'm gonna be best buds with him. Let's go out to lunch.
That dude looks cool.
Please don't blow me up.
It's like, he seems super fun.
Please no blow up.
Please.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I'm kind of a little torn on the relationship that they had. I thought it was okay, but I feel also that a lot of it could have been replaced with more significant things.
Well,
And it would have made it a lot better.
Here's what I thought was interesting is that like sometimes they did it really, really well. Like episode 2 was solely dedicated on letting them have a relationship, and it was wonderful. Like the entire time, I was like, I'm completely on board with this. But then yeah, it was like after that, it just got a little weird and convoluted.
It's. I feel like the problem is, Saki doesn't honestly get to have a lot of significant thought and growth and development by herself. All of it revolves some way around Takizawa and her feelings towards Takizawa and her feelings about what Takizawa or who Takizawa might be. And so she's basically like consistently failing. Like if we're talking Bechdel test and the conversation is her and her inner self, she's failing like every single pass because nothing she thinks about or does is not predicated on Takizawa. I don't know. It's weird.
No, I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, and I get it. He's the pivotal character of the series and things of that nature, and it's important because like he's sell us out and all that jazz. But I don't know. It felt like, as Matt said, they could have actually had some more meaningful character development with her on her own terms.
Yeah, as Kyle said, there were some good moments and like some good episodes where they really brought it to the forefront, and then there were other times though, like I was watching like 6 and 7, and I was just like, wow, we're really drawing this out. Like this could really like we don't really have to take the time to do this. Like we rushed through like the Celico, whatever, number 4. We rushed through his story in like 12 minutes, and then we spent like
which one was 4 again?
He was the one that like
was the detective.
Yeah, the detective
spent all his money on gambling and such.
I don't know. I felt like the pacing for his was actually okay because he served his purpose in the story.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was fine, but then they took like 3 episodes to
do
the
like, Johnny Hunter's arc.
And then we get no payoff because the Johnny Hunter just up and leaves and magical fucking angel wings.
Yeah, and I don't know what that was about.
I love it too because the way they explain it is on the phone when she leaves her phone, and on the phone it says that she paid for this like wonderful, masterful, really expensive illusion.
Yeah, right. it was like I paid for some high-tech special effects here, which I still don't know how exactly special effects. Like I don't know what you're doing to make it look like you sprout wings and smash out the back wall of your apartment and then fly out.
Especially when, like, the police specifically state in the episode after that, whenever they're cleaning up the mess from the hotel, they're like, yeah, the window was busted out and we can't explain it. And I'm like, okay, so part of it was real, but the other part wasn't?
Yeah,
I don't know about that. Like, I feel like we could have chopped that down a little.
And that character
I wish I didn't say that. I regret it.
Oh, that was a penis cutting joke. Oh,
that's not what I meant. I meant we could have. Well, now I want to say snipped it down, but that still doesn't work. Look, we could have. No, you know what? Just
we could have shortened it.
Yeah.
Could have condensed it. Condensed. There we go.
There we go. That's a better word.
It's imagery that doesn't involve some kind of snipping.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, did she really serve that much of a purpose in the plot of the story, though? When you think about it,
no. I would say that. Okay,
I don't know.
So can we actually talk? So let's step back and let's talk plot. Like,
okay.
So I don't feel like it necessarily has a full set plot per se. The way that after seeing the whole thing, it felt more to me like it was an exploration of different ideas of justice and different conceptions of that and how to different ideologies. So for her, I feel like she did serve a distinct purpose because her set of ideology was more a kind of a sexual sort of justice of weeding out people who would prey on others.
Yeah, because wasn't it that she was sexually abused and so she was taking it out on others?
Yes, as far as I'm aware, she's not super explicit about it, but it can be inferred. Yeah, so she takes it out that way, and so I feel having her idea of justice there alongside all the other different Celestial's ideas of justice and how to save Japan was an interesting contrast.
I'll agree with you there. Yeah.
Yeah, I will definitely say that is a very overarching theme.
Mm-hmm. I do agree, Matt, though, it should not have taken 3 episodes.
No, especially when there's no payoff at the end because, like, we don't get any resolution to that. She just leaves. Albeit magically,
no resolution.
But...
yeah. No resolution also kind of seems to be an overarching theme as well.
Yeah.
Like nothing against the show. Because I fully understand there's 2 movies.
Right.
Which,
of course,
basically, with their combined length, make up about the length of the series itself, anyways.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So it's basically like we have a whole second season to wrap up everything that we don't know and we have questions about because we haven't seen the movies.
Yeah. But just from the series alone, it puts forth a lot of interesting ideas, like the whole Celestial game, if you want to call it that. It sets up an interesting premise. It shows a neat cast of characters that do all have these different ideologies and different ways of going about the game and their instances of justice. I know. That's the thing. It sets up an interesting premise, and it gives us a lot of interesting questions, and then it doesn't answer many of them.
Yeah, now granted, I love the premise of the show. I really like it.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
also really like a lot of the interesting ideas that are brought to the table. It's just I felt like the way that it went about explaining everything leaves a lot to be desired, because like some plot points were a little weird, other one and a lot of other ones were just left unfinished.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, I also kind of have a soft spot for the main dude, given the fact that he's a movie buff, and I was like,
Yeah.
I can agree with you. But I don't know. A lot of the stuff that he references, though, I specifically in the first episode he talks about his amnesia, which, by the
Hmm.
way, why was he in America? Was that ever explained? It's like
No.
he wakes up
Not really.
next to Washington D.C. with a gun and no memories, and that's never explained.
Well, I assume that maybe like that was something like, ooh, I told myself I was going to do this after I wiped my memories. So wipe my memories and then
Yeah.
teleport me to this location.
But the thing
X
is that
randomly.
the very first
Not really an
episode
explanation,
it shows him acting of his own accord, and then he puts the phone to his head, and then he's wiped.
Yeah. And we
I
can
don't know.
we can only infer that pre-wipe, Takizawa had some sort of plan in mind for why he would wipe his memories. Now, that is explored a little bit, I think, um, in that when Saki theorizes that he might have wiped his memory, after he made himself out to be the big bad guy for kidnapping the 20,000 NEETs and things like that and all that jazz.
Mhm.
But we don't. That's your theorization. We never actually
No.
get the actual story of why it happened.
And there's
And
no
I don't
easy
think we.
way to infer that either.
Yeah, there's unless we actually get it straight from Takizawa, I don't think we can actually take Saki's theorizing as this is what happened per se. And again, I feel like it's something that might be covered in the two films, but I don't know. And it would be especially weird to actually have it covered in the films, considering Takizawa does some other memory altering thing at the end of the series, anyways.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
which we're not sure of. It's just he for some reason he wipes his memories again.
yeah, but he says it can be inferred that he's doing it so he can become king of Japan
Yeah.
or whatever. And I'm not entirely sure what kind of memory alterations he would have to do to produce that. It's just such a vague request.
Also,
Yeah.
how do you buy out a democracy and establish a monarchy with what was it at the point in time?
He was at about
70
5
million?
or 6 billion.
Yeah, it wasn't even it was 5 or 6 billion yen, which equals out to like $50 million.
Yeah,
It's like
It's not really a lot after I looked
Yeah.
at it. I was like,
Yeah.
it's not really enough to do some of these things. But okay, whatever.
well, and that's kind of the thing. But I mean, like they someone, or at least several characters, like argue that very point throughout the show. It's like we have 10 billion yen. Like, what are we going to do with 10 billion yen? We can't possibly save Japan or do any substantial change with just 10 billion yen. This is ridiculous.
right.
That's true.
So yeah, the substitution of different, forms of government.
I mean, you
I
can
don't know.
maybe emphasize that the artificial intelligence that runs in their phones is really efficient with the money that it uses. Like, really efficient.
I mean, it must be if, for example, we see in episode 2 or 3, where Celesau 4, like, is with those two guys that he owes money, and he just, like, calls up. He's like, hey, Jewies, I need you to kill these guys. And just suddenly there's a car there with a guy with a sniper rifle. And
Yeah, it was a cop car,
super
and he's
convenient.
immediately bought out. Yeah.
Like, I just, it's really weird levels of efficiency.
Well, what was really weird to me was when they made the Pope say uncle, and it was like 20 yen.
It wasn't the Pope, but
whatever.
The Prime Minister, and it was for like 5,000 yen or something like that. And I'm like,
whatever.
How is that? How is that 5,000 yen? How did you do that?
I mean, to be fair, all he's making him say is uncle, and it's a non-answer to the questions that they're presenting to him. So he may not have needed to be bribed that much because he didn't want to give them an answer anyways.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because they were demanding, like, how can you do this? What should we do? What are you doing about this situation? And it's like, if he didn't want to answer, and he was just like, fuck it, 5,000, I'll take it. Uncle.
Yeah. I can dig it.
Yes, I guess that's true.
I was going to say something earlier, though. Yeah, because in episode 1, he mentioned something, and it had me thinking about the plot for, like, the rest of the series. He mentions early on, he was like, wow, I feel like I'm Jason Bourne from the Bourne Identity, which I was like, all right, that's kind of funny. You're poking fun at the whole amnesia thing. But then it does something that the Bourne movies didn't do, which was very strange. It's like, in the Bourne movies, he has amnesia, but we're never confused about what he's doing or why he's doing it, because every thought that he has is conveyed to us. So I was never confused about, well, why the fuck is he doing that? In this, though, like, sometimes he would just be like, I have an idea, and then we would never get an explanation for it until, like, 2 episodes later about why in the world he even did that in the first place. And it left a lot of confusion, and then I was just like, I don't understand where this plot is even going at this point, because we're never getting an explanation. And then finally, like 2 or 3 episodes later, we might get an explanation. Some of the stuff that he did was never really fully explained until like episode 6 or 7, and he did it in episode 3. It was really weird. I didn't understand that at all.
Hold on a second. Which episode 2?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what episodes were what. 3, was that the one with the physician? Like, I don't really remember if that was like 3 or 4 or 5.
No. 3 is the end of Celesal 4's arc, when his wife actually ends up killing him.
Yeah.
And Takizawa finally figures out, oh hey, there's more of us. There's a lot of us around. So, I think episode 4 is the physician episode.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's when he actually meets up with a physician. The physician explains the game. But like, I don't know. It was very jarring. And what I wrote down here is that, like, in the Bourne Identity, we always have empathy for the character because we always know what his thoughts are. But I always felt like I was losing empathy or some connection to the character because I never knew why he was doing what he was doing until a couple episodes later. And I felt like that was a very strange way to address the plot.
Yeah, I always felt like the plot was explained way later than it needed to be.
Right.
Like it wasn't like a normal pace where it was like, this happens. Oh, what happened? And then they explain it. It was like, that happened. And then something else happens. And they're like, okay, now we're going to explain the first thing.
Yeah, because I remember even in like episode 2 and I think 3, he remembers a couple of things, but we're never told what he remembers. He just suddenly does it. And then I'm like, that's really weird. And it's not until much, much later that we finally understand, oh, okay, he knew that. One of the easiest examples was in episode 1, whenever he remembered somehow that he could go to the embassy and bribe them. And that wasn't explained until episode 3 or 4, that he was like, oh yeah, I actually remember partially how to use my phone to bribe people. But we were never given that explanation in episodes 1 or I think even 2. It might have been 2 that it came out, but I think it was episode 3 that we finally got that explanation. Mm-hmm. And I just like, I guess I should just roll with it that he somehow has money and knows how to bribe people with it.
Yeah, but like I guess it's just kind of odd that he just somehow remembers these very select, super important things from pre-wipe and forgets a lot of other like ridiculously important things that you would imagine that, you know, if he can remember say how to bribe people with this sort of thing, he might also remember a few distinct details of, the game itself. But
how the game is played.
Either that, or if he remembers how to bribe somebody, and he remembers that his phone can do it, you would think he would remember how to use his phone. But then he doesn't even remember how to use the basic functions of his phone until, like, a lot of them are pointed out to him.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very weird way of doing it.
Yeah, it's very weird.
And the reason why I compare it is because this is all based around his amnesia, and that's why. And they brought up the Bourne Identity in the first film, and we're comparing to it in that way by poking fun at it. And so that's why I brought it up, because like in the Bourne Identity, if he remembers something, all of a sudden you can see on his face a recollection of, and then you see him go to a phone book, and then the camera shows that he's pointing at a specific name, and he calls it up, and then he pretends to be somebody, and we're all of a sudden like, oh, okay, he remembers that person. That's what we're inferring. But that happens in like a span of 5 minutes. This happened in the span of 2 episodes of just like, why is he doing this? We saw the sudden realization, but the payoff wasn't until like the next episode.
Yeah, I found myself as I was watching the show, I kind of just had to start rolling with things.
Right.
And I was like, and I kind of don't like doing that after a certain point, because I do like some semblance of what's going on, because this wasn't like Bakano, where I was like, I kind of just went with it, and then it happened, and then it all explained itself, and I was like, okay, now it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
And it's not like we're also asking for like plot hand holding or anything of that nature, where it's like everything has to be constantly spoon fed to you. It's just like it was basically just like, oh, this is a plot, we don't gotta explain shit. So
right. And I think that's definitely why I brought it back to that idea of that I was always empathizing with Jason Bourne, but in this one I was never. I had a hard time empathizing with him because I just didn't know why he was doing something.
You know what it is? We don't like characters that have green trench coats that have amnesia. That's all it is.
We have a prejudice against characters that remind us of Golden Time.
Yeah, that's all it is.
We just really fucking hate ghosts, man. That's a hell of a series. I actually didn't think about that until you just said that.
You just had this 1,000-mile stare, and like before you even said that, I was thinking to myself, God, it's like you've seen a ghost or something.
He did, and now he's Tatagonri.
Oh God.
Oh God. That's something for a whole nother episode.
Oh Jesus Christ.
We should talk about Golden Time.
That could be a fun revisitation.
Revisitation of Golden Time. You know, it was a weird nitpick
like
to bring it back to this show, though.
I was.
But what was a weird nitpick in the first episode that I had actually talked to you about this, Breaks, at one point. Did you notice that halfway through episode 1, because they're in America, and I gotta hand it to them, they actually picked up some like Native American speakers or something for some of those characters.
So like,
or at least close, like really close.
Well, I was gonna say like not Native American, but
Native American speakers.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Native Americans.
Native English speakers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
We don't speak American. We speak English.
I apologize. I'm specifying that simply because they actually have the same accents as people from America.
I'm being an ass. It's okay.
No, you're correcting me. So what I thought was I gotta give a kudos to them that they have people that speak English and speak it well, and they sound like they're straight from America. And I was like, all right, that's cool.
It was a nice change of pace.
But then halfway through the episode, the main characters are totally speaking Japanese, and then all the Americans are like, "Oh yeah, no, okay, I'll go to that place. That's cool."
Yeah, I kind of noticed that.
Like the taxi driver, the police officer, and a couple other people are just like, "Yeah, no, I totally understand you." I was very confused about that.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Because initially they were doing a really good job. Like the police officers were like, who are you? What are you doing here? And he's like, I'm speaking Japanese. Yeah. And they're like, I don't understand you. Put your hands above your head. But then
let me see your Johnny.
Gosh dang it. Yeah, that was a stupid fucking plot point.
You are so salty about this.
I am.
Like you are overly mad. Like
wait, you're really mad about this?
I told him
understand.
about it.
It's surprising how upset he gets about the scene.
I don't know why, but
is it
bothered.
this scene or is it the usage of Johnny? Like,
no, it's not the use of his dick. Okay, so the scene in question is that he's wanted, and they have a picture of him in front of the White House with his gun and his other gun, and they have this full-blown picture of that, and they're trying to find out who he is because the motherfucker was in front of the White House with a gun, and then they finally see him, and the female police officer is like, "Wait, aren't you the person in this picture?" And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's totally not me." And then she's like, "Let me see your dick." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "I need to identify you because your dick's clearly shown in this picture, and I'm not going to judge it on your face. I need to see your dick to see if it's the same dick." Who fucking does that?
Hey,
Is a dick apparently an amazing fingerprint identification of a person?
I'll play devil's advocate here. The photo obscured his face.
Okay.
It was blurred.
All
the
right.
only thing. Now, counterpoint, it's fucking stupid. Yeah.
And not only that,
and like,
but who is a
silly.
police officer and doesn't realize that you shrink whenever you're cold and you grow a little bit whenever you're warmer? Because that's what happens is she's like, "Oh, it's not the same dick, please move along." And he's like, "Thank goodness I was cold outside." It's fucking stupid. It bothered me so much because it was the stupidest fucking plot point, and this is like 10 minutes into the show, and I'm like, is this really what the show is going to be like? There's a bunch of stupid fucking plot points about dicks. Turns out I was partially right. Like his partial simi that he had going on in that picture.
Yeah, at first I was just like, oh, it's haha, it's funny, and then I was like, okay, there's a lot of dick jokes.
There's a lot of dick jokes.
This is not the kind of dick jokes that are normally in anime either.
And they really forced them by the end of it too.
Well,
yeah.
See, the weird thing for me is the repetition of Johnny, like the use of the term Johnny, is like it's weirdly multifaceted throughout the show because it's not always just referring to a dick. Because there is, for example, that one weird scene where he like Akira style like slides his bike to the very edge of this like blown up bridge and
which I looked
jumps
up
off.
at, by the way. But keep going.
Yeah, and he like he jumps off the bridge in this weird like hypnosis kind of scene or something, and there's all these like white skeletal wraith looking dudes
coming out of the TVs and all the broken
I wasn't really sure what was going on there either.
Yeah,
but
and then they come at him and he's like, "Johnny!" And I'm like, "What?"
He calls them all Johnny.
And so I'm like, are they supposed to be like, are they carrying on like these are his dick or something, or are they like actually named Johnny or something? Why are you calling them Johnny?
I thought it was like some kind of reference, and I was just like, okay, it's probably some reference I don't get.
They actually did explain that later in the show. Because he calls them Johnny, and you notice they all only come out of the broken electronics. It was a metaphor for the NEETs that he could only partially remember.
Yeah, that's right. Because in the last episode,
he calls all the NEETs Johnny.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And they are all still naked,
now.
and they finally do get their tech back. But they all
again,
come.
Sorry.
Well, this does go back to what we were talking about before, where we have unexplained things going on of partial memories that he has, and that was episode 3, 4, and we don't get the explanation until episode 12 or so, 11's the last episode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was gonna say.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, I didn't think about that. That was a good connection. I didn't make that. I hadn't thought a whole lot about that thematic element.
I had only thought about it because I had to look up the scene because he almost jumps off the bridge, and the crewmen start referencing a movie, and I was like, okay, it's one thing that the main character is referencing movies, but apparently everybody else in this show is just gonna reference movies now. So I looked up the movie in question, and I cannot remember the name of the movie.
It's like Quadra something or other.
Quadrophobia? Yes.
Yeah,
Something like that. I don't know. I don't know movies.
Because I'd actually heard of that Quadrophenia.
Quadrophenia.
Yeah, I had actually heard about that movie before, but I looked it up, and apparently it's a reference to the ending scene from the movie, where the main character jumps off a cliff on his bike.
Right.
Or in a car. He jumps off a cliff in a car.
Yeah, and it's because and the Takizawa makes a reference. He's like, "Don't compare me to that movie because I'm not in despair or anything like that."
Right. And so like he was trying to make a reference, but then he also made this like weird metaphor at the site of the missile crash of all the Johnnies that he had left behind.
Yeah.
And that was never explained, and it was just a confusing scene that made no sense for most of the show.
I mean, I guess now, looking at it as a whole, it makes more sense. But after it doesn't make for a particularly workable thing if, you have to step back and do some digging.
No, it's not good foreshadowing. I think as a scene, it's not a good way to foreshadow the rest of the plot because it makes no sense. It feels so forced.
Matt, what is it you wonder?
I wonder if it would the series itself would have actually worked better as a movie.
I feel like that's really what it was supposed to be all along.
Yeah, because I didn't know this until like today-ish or so because I was doing some more digging, and I guess when the series came out, like as it was airing or before it aired, they announced, "Hey, so this is a series, and then we're also putting out 2 movies." So it's not like the movies were afterthoughts; like they were, planned ahead of time. It's like, "Hey, so we have this, and then we're going to finish the series out with these films."
Okay.
Which also is kind of fitting since the series has such preoccupation with film, anyways.
But... Yeah. I guess I'm just wondering why they just didn't do the series as a movie, but
yeah, because it feels like even though they do a lot of interesting things with it, and they do kind of flesh out some characters, things of that nature, it really does feel like they could have condensed a lot of what actually happens into making it like maybe a 3-movie series or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I think that personally just makes more sense in my head. How it was structured, it felt like it should have been that instead of 11-episode series, and it just felt a little weird. Like the whole thing felt weird to me.
Let me ask you a question, by the way, because and it refers to the Eden of the East within the actual show, the actual like search engine-ish thing.
Eden.
Eden, yeah.
Yeah.
They say that Eden as a program is going to be a NEET paradise. I don't know if they ever fully defined that.
Yeah, that's because I was trying to think about that because the whole thing with Eden was that it was like a search engine for literally anything and anyone.
Right, and you could just hold up your phone and then you have all the information about exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah. So, okay, so I guess if we consider NEET as in no education, experience, or training.
Yeah.
Then being able to use the phone and instantly find out everything you need to know about something in that sense, like I guess I can kind of get that motivation. Because it supplements their lack of experience, education, or training.
Okay. I guess the way that I thought about it was because there's this really long, big metaphor of the main bad guy and our main character both having different ideas about the fact that, and this was interesting too because it actually is eerily similar to situations that we're having here in America. So I guess Japan was having a similar issue. The economy went to shit, and then the large majority of people that are in charge are in large businesses and organizations. And those guys are in charge, and all these people that are coming out of college can't get a job, which is something that we're seeing here in America as well, which is why I thought it was like interesting and eerily similar. All these people can't get a job, and because they continuously try and apply, but they're not getting anything, even though they may have a college degree, means that they just become NEETs, and so there's this large amount of NEETs that people don't know what to do with. And it was like one person was like, well, let's just kill them all. One person was, and then the other person was like, well, why don't we do something with them?
Yeah.
So I was thinking what
Yeah.
Eden was because they signed a contract and they were going to have a startup, and it was going to be a startup company that was their product, was Eden as a search engine. I was thinking they were just going to apply all 20,000 of the NEETs at their company.
Yeah. I'm not like I can see where you come from that, but yeah, I don't think we ever actually got a proper explanation of it.
No.
Which, I mean, it just kind of falls with the theme.
The speculation. I mean, I kind of like shows like this because you can speculate a whole lot, but at the same time, the problem with speculation is you don't have any solid ground. So it's just speculation, and there's nothing. It's just opinions.
I guess though, like that's very fitting in that like that is kind of just what the whole Cell game is anyways. It's a bunch of speculation and everyone's thinking like, hey, so this is the good idea or this is a good idea. And so, it's a lot of speculation, but ultimately, there's no necessarily right way about it.
And I liked like to summarize some of the ones that they do in the show, it was like I liked some of the stuff that they speculated about, like what would save Japan and their economy and the problems that they're facing. It was like the old guy who's the doctor was like, well, we have all these problems with the elderly not having a place to go, not being able to retire, so I'm going to do something for them. I'm going to build a place for both them and their families, and I'm not going to charge them for their medical expenses so that they can be happy and that massive amount of baby boomers can finally be at peace and rest, and that'll help Japan. And then the main bad guy was like, I'm going to purposely launch missiles at Japan itself, Japan launching missiles at itself, and blame it just generally that somebody else attacked us in order to force some kind of World War III where we just like boost our economy in order to prepare for war. And
main bad guy is in Celestine number 1.
Celestine, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's like, and I thought that was an interesting idea that in wartime you boost your economy in order to fuel the war, and in that way it forces Japan into a better situation than what it is now, and all the people that are apathetic about jobs will just be conscripted into the military.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and I was like, that's an interesting way to approach it. And then the main character, his initial plan was, well, we got 20,000 people that should be in the workforce and are not. Let's just ship them off to India. They're gone. Japan wins. And then he changes his mind, and I guess that he planned for it, but he changed his mind where it's like, I guess his full plan was let's get them collected and out of Japan for a little bit so that I can restructure things and then finally put them somewhere where they can be.
Well, so the thing with Takizawa's plan for shipping the NEETs off to Dubai was, if you recall,
that's right,
my bad. He explains when the Careless Monday missile strikes were coming around, he knew beforehand where the missile strikes were going. And so he conscripted the 20,000 NEETs online, and they were all volunteers to help people get away from the blast zones. And then there was, backlash from the people. They're like, how the fuck do you know this? And so he ships them off to Dubai so they're not in, the media attention. So they don't, actually get attacked for this, per se.
Oh, so, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, it is still kind of weird. It's like, hey, I'm going to ship you guys off to Dubai for 3 months and then bring you back for whatever reason.
And I guess the last part of his plan, which he hadn't quite figured out, is that, well, when they come back, I'll have something for them to do.
Right.
But it was never really fully enacted. And then by the time that we wrap up in the final episode, it's like the only thing we do manage to get them to do is use their total computing power to shoot down missiles. But we still didn't solve the problems that are, like, around Japan.
Yeah. I do at least think, though, that that whole idea of actually getting the NEETs to collaborate and actually use their skills for the betterment of the country was kind of an interesting theme in that, putting them in a crisis situation actually got them to, to do something, to actually act and to get out of their sort of lethargic state. Yeah.
No, yeah, I don't have anything to add.
Yeah. Like I think it's kind of interesting because I feel like, it's interesting to me when in the very first episode, Saki talks about, she feels as though, standing at the White House, like that's the center of the world and things of this nature, and that everything revolves around this. And so I find it interesting then that, it sort of implies that things don't quite matter as much over in Japan per se. But when we finally actually do get back into Japan and all these things start happening, there is this kind of sense that, for the NEETs, they're not necessarily the center of things. What they might do doesn't necessarily matter as much per se. So actually getting them into this situation where they do have to do something, and it shakes them out of this idea that, hey, like maybe we are kind of more important than we think we are.
Yeah, they were very lethargic and apathetic. They felt like, well, we're useless. We can't do anything because we've tried so hard and we still can't get a job. Yeah. And then putting them in a situation where they can actually do something about not just their lives but Japan in general, it kind of invigorated them.
Right. Like, yeah, we can do this. We can do stuff. We're good.
And I thought that was a nice message and a nice way to like round out the ending of the series. It just seemed like when you look at the plan in total, it was very strange and odd, and I don't know if it like
absolutely
makes total sense. But I guess that's kind of the point, is that he is still a teenager, and it's definitely something a teenager would think of. Just absolutely bonkers. Well, I guess he's not a teenager, is he? He's like 23, 24? He's young, I know that.
I thought he was still technically a teenager. I'm not. Hold on a second.
He could be. He was supposed to be the youngest out of the group of Salazar's.
No, he's 21.
21? Okay.
Right, because their birthday was 89. That's right. Because they make a big deal out of being born in 89.
Oh.
Well, and by make a big deal, I mean like Saki mentions it like once in the first episode, and then it never comes up again. So, whatever.
Well, that's kind of a big deal, I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know. That was I didn't remember that. So good job.
Well, I didn't remember that until I looked up, how old he was, and I saw his birthday, and I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing. Whoopsie.
Well, I mean, that's all right.
Yeah. I also thought something that was really interesting to me was that they set the series to take place in 2011.
I actually have a
10 years after 9/11.
Yes, I actually have a little bit of a long thing about that.
And the thing about it is, the series came out in 2008.
Yep.
Which is, I thought it was fascinating that they decided to set this up, as a potential decade anniversary of the 9/11 attacks,
because of the whole problem with the terrorist attack against Japan is how they formed their plot device. Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree with you.
I thought it was a fascinating move for them to foreground the whole series with that.
Yeah, I was when they started making those parallels within the second episode, I was immediately into the series. I was like, ooh, this is gonna be good.
Mm-hmm.
That was very clever of them to do, particularly because they even bring up all the ideas of like Freedom Tower, and how they're showing that even though the Twin Towers went down, there's still a monument to perseverance through that. And they specifically mentioned that, and then they parallel it to their own situation of we had so many missiles. I think it was like 20 missiles.
It was 11 missiles.
11 missiles, and then the 12th
first 10. Well, no, the first 10 didn't have any casualties, and then the 11th did.
Yeah, the first 10 didn't have any casualties, and then the 11th did. And I don't know why I repeated you. And I thought it was really cool that they were making that parallel of this terrible incident in Japan's history that will be forever known, and making that parallel to 9/11 and the fact that of terrorist attacks in general in this modern age. I was like, that's awesome. way to go! Applause immediately.
Yeah. I kind of made that connection a little bit, but what I found more interesting was that basically what you were saying about them persevering through it. I think what you were trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically, hey, these are hard times, but better times are coming. just right.
And I think with this really, really overt discussion of the problems of the current workforce in Japan, which is really what this whole series is kind of around, is just the problems that they're finding, where like a lot of young people can't find jobs, and then we have this NEET culture that's rising up because they're becoming very apathetic, and then the older people are just hating the millennials, which, I mean, I didn't realize Japan had a problem with millennials, but apparently they do. But I thought it was really interesting that that's the message that they leave off with, is that, yeah, we're having difficulties now, but we can persevere.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the coolest thing that I think this series did.
Yeah, and even though like it didn't leave off with like a plot resolution per se or anything of that nature, I do feel like, yes, like leaving it as this final message, like, hey, you guys can actually do things. Like you can actually find a place and find a way to actually, you know, do something in this world, was a nice send off for the series.
At the same time, they kind of showed that they couldn't do it the normal way that was being done. It had to be from a sideways perspective. Instead of joining the workforce that already exists, they had to find a different and alternative to that.
And to get creative.
Right, and that's how they succeeded. So I think that's an interesting way. They made a lot of comments about like they made a lot of comments about companies as well, and like in big businesses, because like I can't remember her name. What's the girl's name?
Saki.
Saki goes to those like couple of interviews, and it was like one of the most heart-wrenching things I've ever seen, of like how fucking bullshit are these assholes, that they like make an interview and she even does really well, and they state, no, yeah, you did totally well, and then they stand her up for the second part of the interview, and they just don't even tell her.
Yeah, and then they
dump a beef bowl on.
Yeah, and then they oops, I accidentally dumped a beef bowl on you, and it's like, that, what a fucking asshole. Like, that's messed up.
Yeah.
It's pretty gross.
It's also kind of gross, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I meant gross in like the you're gross people kind of way. But,
I was just thinking about like,
I wouldn't want a beef bowl dumped on me either. That's kind of gross in the kind of way.
Well, I mean, to think about that, it's a beef bowl, so you're gonna smell like beef, and then like after like 6 or 7 hours, it's gonna smell like real beef. Bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Freedom Tower was not finished in 2009, unlike this story states.
I mean, it's plot, future. They don't gotta explain shit.
They can't predict the future.
Nope.
I actually did look that up, because I was like, wait, it's saying Freedom Tower, which is now World Trade Center 1, I think is the official title of it, because the Freedom Tower was just the one that they were using. But like, I think I actually did look it up.
One World Trade Center.
Yeah, One World Trade Center. I actually did look it up, and I was like, well, that's interesting, because like in 2009 it was just a bunch of scaffolding.
Too much freedom.
But I guess I guess the point was that they wanted to show a finished Freedom Tower in order to better fit their metaphor.
Right. Let me see here. It was completed 2013. Okay.
Not that it matters, but
yeah. No.
Fun facts.
Interesting detail though. Yep.
Fun facts about terrorism. We talk a lot about terrorism.
We did have that one episode.
We do actually.
We actually, I think. I don't want to go back and count how many episodes we've mentioned terrorists or terrorism or 9/11.
Okay, hold on a second.
We've had at least 3.
If we continue talking about terrorism, we can get a lot of views from the NSA, though, and people will finally love us.
I'm pretty sure we haven't talked about 9/11 a lot, but definitely terrorists.
Yeah.
Shoot. There was definitely terrorists in Charlotte.
Yeah.
There were terrorists in Mahoka.
There were.
Maybe we just watch a lot of shows with terrorists in them.
I feel like there was something else.
Well, let's see. Death Parade didn't have terrorists, right?
No.
Not that we know.
Jinrui didn't really have terrorists.
I don't know. Those chickens were pretty terrifying.
I mean, I guess. I think that's it. I think those are terrorist quota for now.
We did do that. We did open up that one episode, Matt, you and I, with Karen.
Oh yeah.
With Karen.
And then,
yeah, with the cuteness overload that crashed a plane and all that.
And in the first episode, we talked about how Moe was terrorism for at least like 5 minutes.
Oh, that is how we started this show.
Also, in episode 3, I'm pretty sure it's episode 3, we talked about the Kinero Mosaic airplanes in the PV and how they were terrorism. We've probably got half our episodes about terrorism right now.
Okay. Well, maybe we should end this episode before the NSA actually is spying on us.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Does anybody have anything else they wanted to mention? I basically went over everything I wanted to talk about.
I mean, I did too, except I feel like I kind of feel obligated to watch the movies now. Like, I want to watch them. But
I mostly just want to watch them to see like everything. I was like, did they actually explain that? Because there's so many missing. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
I mean, I didn't. I wasn't saying anything.
We can't really plan that unless we're like some kind of mind.
Yeah, it was just there was so many like missing plot points, or just unfinished, I should say.
Incomplete thoughts.
Incomplete. That's a good word.
So after shitting on this show for a lengthy amount of time, I liked it.
No, that's the weird thing is that like there were several things I didn't like about the show, but at the same time, gosh dang, it had so much heart.
It's just like, I mean, we have taken a lot of time to nitpick this show, but like it is really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it.
Right, it's a cool premise. I feel like some of the characters are very likable. Some of them have pretty decent chemistry. It has a lot of very funny moments to it. A lot of moments that make you think, oh well, I can see where they're coming from with this ideology, things of that nature.
Yeah, and all of the discussions of the different ideologies of all the different characters, that was fascinating. That was actually really cool.
Like all plot holes and everything, and bullshit and all that jazz aside, it's pretty good. It's a ride.
Yeah.
I think I gave it a 7 out of 10 on Mal.
I also I'm pretty comfortable giving it a 7.
Oh wow. Okay, I don't know. I haven't rated it yet.
And that's okay. I'm just.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
It'll probably be 6 or 7.
Not that we really need to put a rating to it, anyways.
No,
it's just
not really.
It's just not like and yeah.
I would say watch it if you want to watch it, because it's definitely fun.
Yeah, I actually, personally, my favorite part was just it was very. I don't want to say it was experimental animation, but it was very, very different. Especially in the openings and the endings, and kind of also in like the episodes where they'd have like those like the weird squiggly ball over the Johnnies, like you never see that in anime. Like,
I guess I kind of did the same sort of thing with like some of their if they're like
their weird thought bubble things.
Yeah, or like if they're upset, they're like, ugh, and they got these like squiggly lines like shooting out from their head and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of the animation stuff that they do in this is actually kind of clever.
Yeah, it's kind of quirky.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah. No wrong.
Okay.
It's fun.
Anything else?
Mm-hmm. Well, I have nothing else of value. So.
Cool. Episode done. I guess we will see everybody sometime later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.